Like Amy said, I've got 5 kids. I have 1 daughter and 4 sons. My daughter is a theater girl. She's the drama queen of our house, literally. She's at a theater audition right now. She was actually on WSFA, what was it, a year and a half ago, I guess?
It was in April of last year.
Okay, so not even a year ago. And my husband went to go and find, she was there promoting a show that they were doing at Wetumpka High School where we live. And we went back to find the video clip from the WSFA show. And while my husband was scanning through the articles, he saw Amy's face. And it said something underneath it about a caption about CDH, new CDH charity out of Auburn or Opelika. And he stopped and he watched the video and played it. And I got home from school that day and from getting the kids from school. And he said, "You've got to sit down and see this." So we have dealt with a lot of CDH charities, but none of them are local for us. This was the first time we had seen somebody in our area doing something for our kids. So it was a really big deal. So that's how Amy and I connected. Ryan immediately sent her an email to the email address she gave, and I think it was your first time on WSFA, wasn't it? It was her first. She's had a lot of news footage since then. Yes. She loves it. It's her favorite thing. She doesn't. She calls me every time, and she's like, "I'm going to throw up on air this time. I know I am." I'm like, "You're not going to throw up. You haven't yet. It'll be fine." But so Amy called me back in December, I think, and asked if I would do this. And I was like, "Sure." Well, I didn't know I had gotten into nursing school. I had not gotten a schedule. I had not seen the 4 syllabi that said I would have finals next week. So I said yes, and now here we are. I'm a little more stretched than I was in December, but I'm very thankful to be here with you guys. I knew that Miss Pearl was going to speak, and that was a little intimidating to me that I was going to get up here before her, because that's not real easy. So I'm going to take you guys on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, if that's okay. I'm not going to be funny. I'm going to share a little bit of my little boy Hollis's journey with you guys. About 3 years ago, I auditioned to share a story with a program called Listen to Your Mother in Birmingham. I don't know if has anybody heard of that? Listen to Your Mother? One person. Okay. Well, Birmingham had a one and one time only show, and 13 of us came and shared a story. You had to write it yourself. It had to be personal, and it had to have something to do with motherhood. So this is what I wrote. It's a little snippet of our journey with Hollis, and then I'll sum up, and we'll be done until Miss Pearl. My son Hollis was born on a Sunday morning around 9. He died on a Tuesday morning around 3. Ryan was deep asleep in one twin bed, and I was deep asleep in the other, until I wasn't anymore. The ringing sat me straight upright. My stomach was churning, my forehead was sweating, my heart was racing, my hands were shaking. Nobody calls at 3 a.m., not with good news. From the other end came words that would change us forever. Hollis is coded. We're doing compressions, we're doing everything we can, but if you're close and you can, you should come now. People say they lose time in trauma and in tragedy. Days feel like nights and minutes feel like hours. They don't remember how they got from one place to the next, but it didn't happen like that for me. Every moment was slow. Every motion was slow. It was so drawn out. And there was that very deep, very loud silence. We didn't speak. We just moved. In moments we were dressed. We were in the car, down University Boulevard, into the parking garage at Children's Hospital, over the crosswalk, down the hall, into the elevator, until we were standing at the door of the NICU, and our son was on the other side. The door opened. We weren't prepared for this, but they were prepared for us. It wasn't until that moment that I realized our knuckles were white and numb, from being squeezed together from the moment we left our minivan in that parking garage. It wasn't until that moment that I realized I'd been muttering words under my breath since we hung the phone up back at our apartment. Ryan said he never heard me. I never heard me either until then. Peace be still. Peace be still. Peace be still. It wasn't a phrase I had even repeated before, in church or at home or as a prayer. Peace be still. I had read these words before as written, but I'm sure I had never spoken the phrase until then. It just seemed right and safe, sacred and holy. Suddenly we were in the room with him, with our son, and a corner full of eyes filled with tears and pity. Hollis's bed space was in the far left corner of the open NICU. It was the very farthest bed from the front door. There was a crowd around his bed, and as the door closed behind us, all of their eyes turned to us. My husband Ryan is a hospital chaplain. His eyes have seen and known far more tragedy than mine. Days later, he told me he knew Hollis was alive as soon as we walked in, but not a moment before then. He told me if Hollis was gone, if they hadn't been able to bring him back, we wouldn't have been welcomed in. We would have been met on the other side of the door. And he was right. Our boy, our son, our Hollis, he was alive. I remember passing nurses and doctors on the way to his bed, the few attending to the other babies and the many, many attending to ours. Even those we didn't know knew us. We were the mama and the daddy of that baby. We were Hollis's mama and daddy, the baby that they saved. We were the almosts. Do you know what's worse than an almost? A did. As in, he almost died, instead of he did die. It wasn't until I got to his bedside, saw his pink face, saw the rise and fall of his chest, saw the blips on the monitor, and heard the nurse's words, "We got him back." It wasn't until then that I believed. That was over 5 years ago. Now it's been over 8 years ago. Since that early Tuesday morning, Hollis has had lung surgery and open heart surgery. We've spent 6 months between 4 ICUs. We've been seen by more doctors and specialists than we could possibly count. And we've seen our fair share of almosts and dids. We've traveled the walkovers, the parking garages, the waiting rooms, the elevators, the halls, the cafeterias. We have spent hours by his bedside, watching his numbers climb and plummet, watching his incisions hurt and heal, watching his sweet little body fight and rest. We have cheered on his victories and sobbed over his struggles. We've seen him crawl and walk and run and eat, drink and play and dance. We have heard him talk and laugh and sing and read and pray. And sometimes still, all these years later, very late at night or very early in the morning, when I can't sleep, because my mind is standing right back there in that NICU doorway, staring across the room at that crowd of eyes staring right back at me, I find myself muttering those words once again. Peace be still. Peace be still. So Hollis is 8 now. He turned 8 in November. He is a hot mess. He plays soccer, he sings, he plays Fortnite like every normal 8-year-old does. We cannot contain his energy. But he's still a CDH kid, and he's still a heart kid. He was born with CDH and multiple heart defects, which is pretty common, like Justin shared. His little girl's case isn't the norm. Most CDH kids don't go home after 5 weeks. We had multiple heart defects. We had open heart surgery. He has a genetic defect. He's missing a part of one of his chromosomes, and that tends to bring up new and interesting things every time we go to another doctor. But if you looked at him, aside from some really major cool scars, you'd never know that he had had a problem. But it's because of foundations like the Sensagreen Foundation and other foundations that work to promote awareness for these kids, because the statistics are so high, but the awareness is so low and the research is so low. So I'm really thankful for Amy. I'm really thankful for Justin and for all the work that they do with this. And I'm thankful that you guys let me share a piece of Hollis's story with you. I don't know which table Hollis's picture is on. He's standing with a doctor. That's mine. So y'all make sure and see his cute little face before you leave. He's not any cuter than the other ones, but he's pretty special. Thank y'all.